What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show, and today we're actually leading a group ride. We're out here at the Willow City Loop, and this is kind of an unscheduled video. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that Versus video, because it's actually the first one that I put up that genuinely got a negative response and actually contributed to a loss of subscribers. So clearly it's something that we should probably address, and we're going to do that out here on a nice, pretty twisty road on a very chilly Saturday. So let's hit the road and talk about it.
All right, as we wait for everybody to mount up on their bikes, let me start by saying that it is very cold outside today. It's like 45 degrees when we left, and it's not exactly gotten warmer. And because we are currently on a group ride, I want to make sure that, you know, I'm paying attention to what I'm doing as the guy who's leading. It's kind of important. But it also gives me a good opportunity to talk about, you know, the motorcycles that we want to ride on weekends. You know, as many people pointed out in the comments section of that video, you know, I own a KLR, and I do own a KLR, and you know what? It's kind of a boring motorcycle, and I'm not out here riding around on my weekend on the KLR while I am riding around on the Ducati. So let's talk a little bit about that video first and foremost. So for those of you who missed it, I've got a link up here if you want to check out what I'm talking about. Basically, Whitney and I went out and we did a kind of a high-low situation where we were trying to compare a top-shelf adventure, not super sport, an adventure touring, sport touring motorcycle to one that is relatively attainable. So we looked at the Ducati Multistrada Pikes Peak, mostly because Whitney and I both really wanted to ride one, and AF1 had one, so we're like, cool, let's check that out, and let's throw it up against the Versus and see if a very attainable motorcycle is worse than the super duper fancy one. You know, because a lot of times you get on a motorcycle and you're sitting there like, you know, oh, this thing's great, and I don't feel like I need anything else. And then you hop on a fancier motorcycle and you're like, oh, you know what, I actually really like a lot of this technology. Or conversely, you're on a very fancy motorcycle and you're like, oh, you know what, all this stuff, I don't really need it, it's not useful, it's just adding to the price, and you know, I could be getting along just fine if I had the Versus 650. And that was essentially the point, and I think we may have communicated that poorly. I enjoy putting up two motorcycles that are in the same category but at different ends of the spectrum, just to show you kind of how wide-ranging motorcycles really are. And we've actually got another one coming out later this week where we're doing the same thing, where I took my KLR 650 and I put it up against a Harley-Davidson Pan America. And spoiler alert for that one, there are actually some times where the KLR 650 makes more sense than the Pan America. And so that's essentially what we were doing in that video. So hopefully that helps kind of clear up some of the misunderstandings that were going on there. Now, I did say that this video contributed to an actual net loss in subscribers. That is the first time that's ever happened on the channel. We have had some videos that have had relatively spicy like-dislike ratios. I know they're currently hidden, but actually, if you want, there's a widget that you can download for Chrome that will actually give you back the like-dislike ratios, and I actually suggest you go and install that. It's nuts that YouTube has taken that away from you, because like and dislike is actually really important, especially on your end. It's not just good enough to see that people are liking it. You should see the ratio of likes to dislikes, because that can tell you a lot about the validity of the video, mine included. And if seeing a bunch of dislikes on my video means that you're not going to watch it because you think that it's rough, that's totally your prerogative, and I'm a-okay with that being the case. Now, admittedly, in terms of spicy like-dislike ratios, we're talking about 95%, 94, maybe 93%. Look at all them cows. You never know how cows are going to react. Usually they're nice and chill, but sometimes they do like that, and they get a little spooked. So yeah, the like-dislike ratio, it wasn't like it was, you know, 80%. We're dealing with 92 to 94%, and usually my videos are between 99 and 98%. And I would argue that's true of most videos that you see on YouTube. I think a lot more people are inclined to like a video than they are to dislike one, and even just a few percentage changes on that, they raise eyebrows for creators. And so I was actually watching this one very carefully, and like I said, a net loss in subscribers, that is very rare. I've never had that happen before. So let's talk about the audience response, because I was watching what you guys had to say very, very carefully. And I think that people fall into 3 or 4 separate camps, probably 3 separate camps. We have the people who were, who I'm just going to call the pro side. They were pro the video, they liked the point, they understood what I was saying, and they agreed. Not much to talk about there. They just were like, yep, good video, I agree with your points, and move on, have a good day. Then there was the disagree, but they see where I'm coming from kind of people. The kind of folks who are like, yeah, I see that it's boring, and I like it despite that. You know, it's a boring motorcycle, but it does exactly what I need it to do. And, you know, as a result, I'm gonna go ahead and disagree, and I'm gonna say that I don't need the super fancy motorcycle because the Versus 650, it's getting the job done for me. And then there's the strong disagree, the people who were who either thought the premise of the video was flawed, and that, or I was just being aggressively negative towards the motorcycle. And I could see where somebody's coming from, thinking I was being aggressively negative. I did specifically, I did put together that initial highlight reel. I put the somber piano music in there. I even put up a thing on Instagram with you know, Rip Spite's Soul, 1993 to 2023, murdered by a Versus 650 or something like that, because I was just having fun with the edit. You know, I was taking something where, me personally, I was not having a fun time riding the motorcycle, and I wanted to make the video a little bit more enjoyable to the watchers, so I may have poked a little too hard on that.
Hey guys, Editing Spite here. I just wanted to jump in real quick and actually point out that literally the next day after I returned the bike to AF1, they sold it to a guy who wanted it as his first motorcycle. And honestly, I think you could do a whole lot worse than getting a Versus 650 as your first bike. It's going to be able to do everything the guy wants. It's going to be able to go down the highway, do a little bit of touring duty. It can even do a little bit of off-road if you're brave. So, very great choice for your first bike, the Versus 650. Even though it's not my favorite thing, I'm willing to admit that.
I usually am not that. I'm usually not that negative. I strive in my reviews for every single motorcycle that I ride. Even if it's not my style, I strive to find something positive to say about the motorcycles that I'm talking about. Why? Because every single bike out there has something to give. It doesn't matter whether or not it's a humble little Rebel 250, or it's a top shelf leader bike, or it's the Pikes Peak Multistrada, or the Versys 650. Every motorcycle has something to offer. And so every single review, I try to find that little nugget, that little raison d'etre, the reason to be for the motorcycle. And I think what ended up happening in that video is I let my personal feelings towards motorcycling overshadow what the motorcycle had to offer, because I do bring a lot of my own personal bias to motorcycling, to my reviews, and so does everybody. Nobody on the planet, not Ari Henning, not Zach Kortz, not Shade Tree Surgeon, nobody is capable of looking at a motorcycle with no bias, because everybody's got their own background, whether it's racing, off-road riding, cruiser, stupid supermotos like I got. Everybody's got something, and for me specifically, that is, I like to do big long day rides out in the hills on comfortable motorcycles that are at their core pretty exciting to ride, you know? I like motorcycles that you know, to quote Yamaha, rev your heart, you know? And the Versys just wasn't doing it for me. And I think because I was so negative in the video, people thought by me saying the bike was boring, that boring inherently meant the bike was bad. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, boring and bad are not the same. When I say boring, I just mean that it's not a particularly exciting motorcycle to ride. It's not, it doesn't get my juices flowing. It doesn't inspire me to reach for the keys again for that bike. I was completely happy to give it back to AF1, and same deal with the Duke 890. I was happy to give the keys back to the guys at AF1 at the end of the day. The Tuareg, I was really sad giving the keys back. The Pikes Peak, I really didn't want to give the keys back. This Ducati, I rode it for a day. I was gonna make a video about it, but I didn't because I bought it. I so badly wanted to keep this motorcycle that I literally traded my KTM in for it and bought this thing. Make sure everybody's still behind me. It's one of the rules for being a group ride leader, is you got to make sure everybody's all caught up before you take turns. I've made that mistake a couple of times and it ended up chasing down some of my buddies who missed the corner. Suffice it to say, I know exactly how fast this motorcycle will go in top gear. So again, for me, boring does not mean bad. If something is bad, I will tell you that it's bad. Like the Royal Enfield. So the Royal Enfield is a fun motorcycle. The Scram 411, I enjoyed it, but it is slow, and it's tops out at like 75 miles an hour with me on the back. The front brake is bad on that motorcycle. In fact, I actually reached out to the folks at Royal Enfield because the bike that I have is one of their press bikes, and I was like, can I make a video installing an aftermarket master cylinder on the front brake and fixing it? And they were like, yeah, totally, go for it. Showed off. Which, A, is really cool. Thanks, Royal Enfield, I appreciate that. And B, it means that they understand that bikes have flaws, you know? But the problem with the Versys is I couldn't really find a flaw. And I couldn't really find a outstanding positive. And that's why I called it the tip of the bell curve. You know, think of the bell curve right here. And we actually have a really great bell curve shape on the Ducati. It's almost like they designed this for me. You know, down here is motorcycles that are just, they're just atrocious. Something like the Gixxer 250, which is an unredeemable motorcycle. And then up here we have bikes like the Pikes Peak, which are my favorite things on the world. And I put the Pan America here, and maybe my Ducati's like right here somewhere. And most of the motorcycles that I ride, they're on this side of the bell curve. But there was nothing on the Versys that made it bad, nor made it good. It was just right in the middle. It was like a C student, you know? It was exact tip of the bell curve. And that's fine, because it means the motorcycle's gonna do everything that you ask it to do. It's not gonna leave you high and dry. And you know what? There's another motorcycle in my fleet that is right there. And it's the KLR 650. A lot of guys pointed out that I have the KLR in the garage. And like I said, I'm out here on the Ducati because I don't want to be on the KLR. The KLR is boring, and this is the wrong spot to use it. Now here's the sticky situation that I find myself in, because I don't want to make you guys angry, but I also don't want to lie to you guys, because I don't want to talk down to you. I don't want to tell you something that I don't believe in. It's why I only work with sponsors who make products that I use, like Quadlock or Cardo or Insta360. I use their products and I believe in them, and I will only recommend a motorcycle to you if I enjoy it. I'm not gonna give you some. I'm not gonna lie to you in a video. So that means that I can either continue to make reviews on motorcycles or make videos on motorcycles that I don't like and be honest about it, or I just don't. I just don't cover bikes that I don't like. And honestly, I don't want to do that. I would rather cover every motorcycle and give you my honest opinion versus not talk about a bike because I don't like it, and I don't know, give the wrong impression about it or something like that. So I guess I'll pass that question off to you guys. What do you think? Would you rather have me only cover motorcycles that I can be truly positive about, or would you rather have me just cover everything and continue to be honest about it, and then maybe not go so hard in the paint? Because boy, oh boy, did I go hard in the paint on that one. And with that, guys, I hope you kind of enjoyed this little look behind the scenes, kind of seeing my thought process as it comes to reviewing motorcycles and talking about them. And again, just here at the very end, I want to say, boring and bad are not the same. Boring can actually be very good, especially if you want something that is going to turn on every single time you turn the key. You know, the Ducati's exciting, but it is Italian, and I have heard many reports of the 2013 Hyperstrada having electrical faults. I haven't encountered any of those in the 2,000 miles I put on this motorcycle, but apparently they're out there. And this does have a particularly snatchy clutch, and this is terrible. The mode switch is terrible. So this is not a great motorcycle necessarily, but it's a ton of fun. I know this one was a little bit rambly, but yeah. Hopefully there was something in here that was at least a little insightful. And I'll call it a day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.